next what I'm going to talk about is how to create a background that is custom and looks good. So again, I'm going to use this Wine Memories as an example, and as you can see in this example, there's kind of a little canvasy textured type of thing going on, and there's a few different ways that you can accomplish this look. You can create it from scratch, and yes, I live in the city, and yes, that is the police, and that's just what's in the background of my videos. Anyway, wow, they're loud. Anyway, sorry about that, but we live like a quarter of a mile from the fire station, so, but all the police seem to like follow the fire truck. So anyway, there's a few different ways that you can do this, and in this example, I have imported this kind of textured paper thing, and then layered it over like a sand background kind of thing. So I'm not going to get into that complicated of a layering thing. I'm going to try to just show you something a little simpler, but this actually isn't that hard. Basically, you know, you get your texture and you see the difference when I pull that texture off. There's still a slight texture with this sand background, but this adds just a little more sort of mottled effect. And if you just Google Photoshop textures or, you know, sand texture or something like that, you can find the different images out there that you can use to create this effect. I'll show you quickly though. Basically, one way to do it is you bring in your texture and you want to convert it to black and white. So you go to Image, Adjustments, and Black and White. That just takes any kind of color out of it so that you can make the colors what you want them to be. And so if you're working with a texture you've imported, that's one way to do it. And then you just fool around with the different layers effects. So you could do color burn, multiply, and as you play around with these, you see how they affect images differently. And then from there, you can adjust the opacity. And you see, like when I dial the opacity all the way up, the way it really looks. Okay, so that's kind of how I did it there, but I'm going to show you a little bit simpler way to do this from scratch in our template file. So here are the backgrounds, and I have a few in this already that you can play around with just as examples. One of them is kind of a yellow paper thing, another one is like a blue lined grid. Here's just like kind of like a grid paper grid. But what we're going to be working with here is the little white layer that you see here. And I'll layer that, I'll call that white. And what I want to do is give it a little bit of a tint, a slight tint, and then a slight texture. All right, so this is really simple to do. You just go up to your adjustment layers like we did for the nav bar, and you say Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Hue and Saturation, and always click Use Previous Layer to create clipping mask, and that way it affects only this layer, because if you don't do that, it affects the whole file. One way to quickly have it snap to a layer or unsnap is to hold down on your Option key on Mac, and you see how those two little circles show up when I'm hovered over the line that's in between these two layers. You just hover your mouse on that line, hit Option, and you can snap it to and from that layer right there. Okay, so but what we want to do is actually deal with this adjustment, and again hit Colorize. And I'm going to first dial up my saturation a little. Since we're dealing with white, you sometimes have to dial the saturation up and dial the lightness down to actually see the effects, because they aren't as obvious when you're dealing with white. So, and I'm just going to take it down to about kind of a yellowish orange color, and you can see right there, bam, I've kind of got a little less stark of a color going on there. All right, so and I'll show you the off and on here so you can take a look at the difference. All right, so that's kind of nice. And I'll go back to my white layer, and then I want to do like some kind of texture on here that's very subtle. So go to the filter menu up here, And we'll want to go create some noise on this thing. Make some noise, people. All right, add noise. All right, now you're hearing my neighbors cackling on the street, which is fantastic. I love my neighbors. But yes, they love to cackle. Okay, now, see, I'm dialing this noise up way too much, but I just want to give you like the full effect of like what you're dealing with here. So the amount that I have right now is like 30%, and you can see the preview here is like totally intense. So I'm going to just keep dialing it down until it's just barely there. And you can see it's barely there at about 4%, almost 5%. All right, so there we have it. And so that's a custom background, and you'll see it's not interfering with reading the text. It's subtle, but it creates a much more warm effect than if it were, and this is what it would look like without the hue over it. All right. So that's just a little something to kind of warm up the background and start building the whole effect that you're trying to achieve is with regard to the look and feel of your app. Okay. Oh, one last thing. I got to show you how to slice it out, right? All right. So once you're done with this, what you want to do is you want to deliver this background image to your developer. And so you want to peel everything off that's on top of it. And here's our slice that we had for the nav bar. We don't need that anymore, but I will grab my slice select tool here and I'll double click on it. And I want to name the slice background. And I also want to adjust the width the height. So the height of the entire screen is 480. All right, and so I'll just type that in and hit OK. And then, like I did before, I want to select the slice and use my arrow key to make sure that it's covering the entire background, which it's not right now. You can see the brown moving upward here. And so I just want to keep using my arrow key to shift this slice up until it's dead on. And I'll just check the corner here, and sure enough, it's dead on. So I just say File, Save for Web, and then there it is, looking good. That looks good. I'll hit Save, and then I want to save it to my Sliced Images folder, Images Only, Custom, and then since we're just one big slice, it's not asking me how many slices because it's covering the whole canvas. So hit Save, and then we go to our thing, and there we have it. Well, I did not, well, what it did, since it didn't detect that I had a slice because I was slicing out the entire background, it named it something incorrect. So I'm going to go in and name it properly right there. Okay, so there we have it. Nice little background. This thing's coming together. All right, the next tutorial is going to be about how to customize your tab bar. Okay, see you in a second.